Well, White Sox fans, hello, and how are you guys tonight? I hope you are doing well, because we got some things to talk about tonight. My name is Ian Eskridge. I am here with my co host, the Danny Miller. How are you doing, Danny?
You're probably better off asking somebody else that question.
So much fun. So much fun.
I'm here for another fun-filled episode. Fun-filled and positive. Positive reinforcement and attitudes here today. Mm, Anywho, yeah. I mean, if you, I'm sorry. I'm actually speaking, and I can't use my sarcasm font while typing. So, yeah, no, I'm doing all right, man. I shouldn't complain. I spent the weekend out at the campground. You know, hung out, did some barbecuing and partying, and as some folks would say, 108ing for a good part of the weekend. And then they come home in the middle of what is it turns out to be a 12 run route from the Kansas City Royals today.
Is it 11? I think it's 11.
Well, I'm sorry, 12-1 route of the White Sox. Uh, you know, and then just a little while ago, because I had been out at the campground and partying and, had a bit of a long weekend, neither the wife nor I felt like cooking. So we decided to Uber Eat in for the evening. And, of course, the place we ordered from got our entire order wrong.
Of course they did.
So, it was the perfect end to a perfect day. So, yeah, man, I'm all fired up and ready to go here. And you know, get into some bashing of some terrible moves by the well, whatever. We'll get into it during the show. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Nice chill weekend. Nothing too crazy. Pretty chill, really. I did do a Chains Over Razors gig at Reggie's on
Yeah, I thought about coming out for
Saturday
that,
night.
but
Yeah, yeah, you were
the
out of town.
campground was calling me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Other than that, like I sat around and played some Call of Duty, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. Nothing. I tried not to put any more stress into my life. This team is more stress than one sports fan should ever have to
Endure.
hold on to and see every day. I mean, it's just a comedy of errors, and it's just every time you think that that it's hit rock bottom, everything finds they find a new low every single time, and it's tiring. So I guess let's start with might as well start with Thursday. Um,
Yeah, before we get into it though, I do just want to point out if you guys happen to catch this on stream, if you're watching us live, I had a little bit of an incident. Let's see, we're gonna
team
oh,
drove you
there
to
we go.
that, huh?
Yeah, so I had an incident at work
Mm.
Tuesday morning. Just hours after we finished up our last show with the always awesome and incredible Mr. Beef Loaf. Uh, but yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there. I did not try to off myself. I
Oh,
have
okay.
not gotten
All
to
right.
that point yet. I had an incident at work, and but it's my burner arm. It's my ripping heaters
Yeah,
arm.
Beef Loaf gave you a GD in the YouTube comments.
GD.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunate. Well, I'm glad that you're all stitched slash stapled up there and everything's okay.
Yeah. It's all good. It was, just a little mishap, and things are all good to go. But last thing I wanted was anybody to think the the worst of that situation. you go to the hospital when that happens, and you walk in the door, and they say, "Well, are you having thoughts of hurting yourself? Is someone trying to hurt you?" They have a protocol. I get it. They got to go down their list of questions. But by the end of this thing, I was waiting for the nurse to say, blink twice if you're in trouble. I was like, this is just ridiculous, man. I slipped at work. It's fine. It's all good.
Point to me on this doll where the White Sox hurt you.
Right, exactly. So
Um,
yeah,
so Thursday, the White Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf, more appropriately, made it official. The thing that everybody was fearing, that the White Sox indeed did go insular and promoted Chris Getz from within as the player, from player director of player development. Now he is the executive vice president and GM, a one singular voice for the White Sox. So I will say this: there is one positive here, and that is that you know who to blame if something goes wrong. Well,
yeah.
you at least have one
Well,
of two names to blame now instead of one of three or four. How about that?
right. We don't have Kenny Williams to kick around anymore for stepping on Rick Hahn's dick.
Well, I did
Pardon my
hear.
French.
I don't know if you saw the tweet or not, but Kenny Williams, since being let go by the White Sox, has apparently through some medium of some sort has expressed interest in joining the Angels organization.
Okay.
Um, run
Seems like
far,
a good
far
fit.
away. Run far, far away.
It seems like a good fit. The Angels are like the White Sox of the
Yikes.
West.
That is brutal, man. I tweeted out earlier that generally crappy teams beat semi-playoff contender teams that are hoping to get in and kind of ruin their chances at getting into the playoffs. As it turns out, the White Sox just trade them pitching, and their entire playoff hopes go completely out the window. I don't know if you saw today, Lucas Giolito. I think it was 9 runs in 3 innings that he gave up to the Twins, who have morphed into the best team in the history of baseball, at least in the Central. They put up a good. I don't know exactly. I didn't even look. I don't remember what the final score was, but it was 20 something to not a lot. So it was a severe beatdown, and Lucas took a nasty, nasty. He's got a nice goose egg on the side of his head, no doubt, from that beating. Um, so that's now the Angels, and now he goes to the Guardians, and he has just been off for I don't know the better part of like a month and a half ish. Um, so it's just kind of ugly, and it just kind of goes right along with this whole franchise, this organization. I mean, at this point, there's some minor league stuff that's going on that looks real, but anything having to do with this, the parent club for this team is just absolutely terrible. So I know that you took to Twitter and to several
Oh,
other mediums, just voicing your um, displeasure with the hiring of Chris Getz, and
I did.
I don't know if you're ready to jump off the ledge, but let's hear it.
Well, it's funny too because we talked a little bit last week while Beef was on the show about how I had this sounding board that I could rely on to keep me from emotional tweeting. And that kind of went out the window very shortly after that show last week. I didn't want to have a sounding board at that particular moment. I wanted the world to know my frustration. We thought that maybe the Chris Getz, leak from Bob Nightingale was conjecture. It was an attempt to find his way of breaking another story. And it turns out we were wrong. I mean, I kind of always knew that it was a possibility.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to believe it. And I wasn't happy. I'm not happy. I'm still not happy.
Yeah.
As the chat says here, we have a Louis Andrade 1985 who says an unserious hire from an unserious organization in the Twitch chat. And I can't agree more. This is a guy who has failed miserably in player development. We get rid of two guys who, definitely have been inept for some time. But, there's always been speculation of Rick Hahn's hands being tied by one person or other, whatever been Kenny Williams or, Jerry Reinsdorf and the ownership group, or a little bit of both and all. But man, honestly, who's putting these people in their positions? And who is ultimately the person that's going to answer these things? And it is Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams. So the firings I was fine with. We all rejoiced in that.
Yeah. Nobody
We
was
you know,
upset.
we No, it was the first time that we had lost anyone in the front office mid-season. It was the first time that there had been any kind of mid-season change in this organization in probably my lifetime, or at least a long time since I can
Yeah, I
remember.
can't remember if
And
Schuler or Harrelson was let go mid-season or not. I can't. I mean, I was young at that point, so I don't
yeah,
really
we're going back
remember.
to the
But
80s, so
yeah,
yeah. Uh Either way, it's been a good hot minute, right? And White Sox Twitter rejoiced for all of about 12 hours. And then we get the news that Chris Getz is going to be the new hire from Bob. And most people bought it. Some of us had hope that maybe some of these other reports were, I think it was Sports Illustrated dropped one saying that there was somebody from uh the Nationals organization, and there was somebody else that
Rizzo.
dropped
Yeah.
something from the Baltimore Orioles organization. And we thought, okay, maybe, just maybe, there's this glimmer of hope that something else is going to happen. And then we get word that Jerry Reinsdorf's going to come out and say things like, I didn't even bother interviewing anybody else because I owe it to the fans. I owe it to the fans to not waste time on letting someone come in and evaluate the organization. What the hell do you think these people need to do in this job? The organization needs to be evaluated. This guy can't evaluate top talent in the minor league system. How the hell is he supposed to evaluate this? Oh, just I can't even speak. So yeah, I'm a little upset. What do we get? We get a guy who's been here. Well, he knows the culture and the way the organization operates. Yeah, and it's wrong. It's been wrong. It's messed up. He's part of the problem. But we're going to elevate him instead of, take a different direction. All because it's going to take time. We would have lost a year. Lost a year. I feel like we've been set back at least 5.
Well, you know, I would be. We should have known because it seems like when anything that we don't want to hear and something that seems like it would be very White Sox and just something that we know shouldn't happen, it always comes from Bob Nightingale first. So we should have known right from the get go that that was what
Yeah, you're right.
that was what was actually going to happen. And like we, as soon as that as soon as we saw that, we're just like, here we go again. Like we had like that period of like, I don't know, 12 to 15 hours or something where everybody was joyful and happy that Han and KW were gone, and this guy shows up and just ruins everybody's day. I mean, it's like clockwork. I mean, it's the exact same thing that happened when he said that TLR was going to get hired. Everybody was running on this high. They're like, we're going to get a real manager. We're going to get somebody that's forward thinking and is going to, get this team moving in the right direction. Nope, no, you're not. You're going to get TLR because that's what JR wants.
Yeah,
And
and the thing was is all we wanted was, people were talking about, "Oh, well, he's not gonna bring us in the future." I don't care if he's gonna bring us the next guy's gonna bring us into the future or not. Can you just bring us up to the present?
yeah,
We're so far behind from top to bottom, it's ridiculous. Ugh.
yeah.
Anywho,
Um, so
I do
did
wanna
you, what do you
so
what do you want?
before we move on, I do wanna clarify too, you talked about how I took to the socials. One of the questions I asked, and I don't want people to misunderstand my thinking on this, but I did tweet out to season ticket holders that, why would you continue to buy season tickets where, unless you're planning on going to every one of those games or 85, 90% of the games that you pay for, why would you continue to buy season tickets when, every year, the second half of the season, ticket prices start to drop dramatically, and I can get those same tickets 20 minutes before the game for half as much or less than what you're paying for them, as part of a season ticket package. And I just want to clarify that this is not a shot at season ticket holders. I'm not taking shots. It's because I feel like it's more of a question of why continue to give your money to such a poorly run organization. And then I know Beefloaf talked about it a little bit last week on the show, and he said it was like an addiction for him. It's a sickness. It's now for a group of guys like that, I understand. You've got a whole section of people,
Yeah,
and I won't say it's the entire section 108, but we know that, if anybody that's been paying attention, they're taking their class pictures all the time. And there's a good group of folks there. And I can see the reason for wanting to be a part of that because there's some camaraderie. There's some great friendships that have been made there.
yep,
These guys go out there, and whether the Sox are winning or losing, they're having fun. They're out there eating their uncrustables and drinking as many adult sparkling beverages as they can, and it's a community over there, and I get that. My question's more for the fans that maybe don't have that, and are you hoping that you are going to get you know postseason tickets before the rest of us, or are you just a glutton for punishment? It's
playoffs.
because I
Good
mean,
lord.
right.
Did you?
Gotta get
Did you?
the first crack at those postseason tickets.
Did you watch any of the game today? I mean,
I'm
when
watching the replay right now because I'm a glutton for punishment.
me and John Rudels went to Kansas City, and we went and saw Danny Mendick in left field for the Mets, and Cole Reagans was pitching for the Royals in that game. And I mean, I will say he did pitch fairly well, but I wasn't expecting a perfect game through what, like up until the fifth inning or something like that, until
Yeah.
Moncada got that hit. Um, just embarrassing, you know. Yeah, I'm just this team. Um, so I don't know. Did you happen to hear the Jerry Reinsdorf um, interview with select reporters that he did in his office before the press conference?
I did not. This is new to me.
They played a
Maybe I
bunch of it.
have.
They played a bunch of it on the score, and you probably heard some of the jokes that saw some of the jokes on Twitter. I'm trying to remember what the Mitch McConnell joke. Have you seen that one floating around? He was talking about something, completely forgot what he was talking about when somebody said something, and he said, "I feel like Mitch McConnell." Um, so he's showing that he has, like, there is coherence there. It's not that he's completely out of touch with the world. It's just that he's out of touch with reality, because he thinks that this is the good move to make, and he thinks that he's going to be able to, that Chris Getz is going to be able to turn around quickly the issues that
He
are
thinks
going
he's
on.
doing his fan base a service when in fact it's been nothing but a disservice. But
Yeah.
anyways, continue. I'm sorry. I
Well,
just that quote still baffles me, and it still angers me that I owe this to the fan base. Shut the front door.
yes. As they say, slow the F train down.
There you go.
There is clearly some sort of um, a misfiring in synapses here that is going on to think that 1 and 1, what he thinks is 1 and 1 equals 2, and when you hear him say, okay, well, Chris Getz is going to have that. That's Chris Getz's decision. That's Chris Getz's decision. And when I hear Chris Getz on the radio afterwards, which we'll get to the Chris Getz part of this equation in a little bit, but as far as the press conference goes, but I heard him on Waddle and Sylvie, or what's that? Who is that?
Parkins and Spiegel.
No, I heard him on. I think it was Waddle and whoever it is,
Yeah.
the
Waddle
afternoon
Silver.
guys on ESPN 1000, and they asked him, "Are you going to put more money into the infrastructure of the minor leagues?" And this, to me, was a huge red flag because when they asked him this, he sidestepped and he said, "Whenever I have something to talk to Jerry about, I will talk to him and he will listen." That is a problem because when you tell me, when they ask you something that is imperative for this franchise, which is improving the infrastructure for this minor league system, when your answer is Jerry will listen, this should have already been discussed. It should have been an immediate hard yes. We have already discussed it. We are going to put money into the infrastructure to help develop our players.
Yeah.
Should have been that easy.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the things that I found funny, and when you think about all of the people who are at play in the White Sox organization, or at least have been up until this point, you think of the Nick Hostetler drafts, which we have talked about on this show multiple times, and every time I've gone on somebody else's show, I've said the same thing. Nick Hostetler is clearly an issue. And the decisions that were made, whether or not they were his decisions or whether they were other people's decisions, which we'll get to this in a little bit because there's been all sorts of interesting stuff coming out since KW was let go and Rick Hahn was let go. But clearly those drafts did not work out as intended, So when you hear Jerry say, well, Chris Getz, he didn't have any control over the guys that he got. So blaming him for this stuff isn't really fair. I mean, that's I'm paraphrasing here, but he's saying like he had no control on who was drafted. So how can you blame him for, whatever? So my question is that this is part of the problem, and like I'm happy that they're coming up with the executive vice president and GM in one job, and that there is one voice, so we know who to blame, sort of. But the thing is that like it goes with everything else where it's very murky waters, very blurry. You're not quite sure who to blame here, but I have to think that with those kind of statements made, that there's going to be some fairly serious front office turnaround this offseason. And I'm pretty sure they know already who's on their way out, but I don't
Well,
know.
you bring up the fact that he says, Jerry will listen, and I can't agree with you more in the fact that it should have been a hard yes when asked that question. But the fact that he's got to go to Jerry pretty much confirms the thought that, I know you and I discussed offline and have had behind the scenes here, this conversation, but it seems as though, Chris Getz is just a yes man. And that just seems to confirm that he's a yes man. Well, you're the general manager and president of baseball operations. You can't say with any kind of definity that you plan on doing this, that, or the other thing. No, I got to go ask if it's okay. I mean, to me, you sound weak. You don't sound like the voice of a baseball organization. You sound like a puppet. So, I would think you are correct in your assumption that there's going to be some front office turnover, but I have zero confidence that any of it is going to be for the good of the baseball team, baseball organization. Zero confidence whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not. There are certain things like I'm not worried about the job. I'm not worried necessarily about some things. I know there are things that needed to be improved upon, as far as the minor league infrastructure goes, and like I said, that should have been an easy yes. That yes, we are going to shore up a bunch of things. We're going to hire more people. It really should have been that easy of an answer. It shouldn't be like, well, I'm going to go talk to Jerry, and when I go talk to him, he says he's going to listen and he's going to keep an open mind is the phrase that he used.
He just sounds like a little kid asking for his allowance.
Yeah, that's not.
Can I get my allowance,
not what I want to hear. So, one of the other things that was just amazing was that Jerry Reinsdorf said that his favorite player of the last, I don't know, couple of decades was David Eckstein. David Eckstein.
Yeah. No, I heard you. You're not going to get much out of me for that one, other than more disdain. But anyways, yeah, we like the scrappy ball player who can play 6 different positions mediocrely.
I mean, yeah, and one of the other things that was said was that for the first time in forever, literally forever, Jerry said that Chris Getz has the guys in the minor leagues learning how to play baseball the right way. And the issue here, and I don't have an issue with some of the guys that are in the minor leagues. And the thing is that a lot of people, everybody, this is one thing that I have to get out there right now. When people, anytime somebody says something about the White Sox farm system, they talk about development this, development that. If the evaluation on the players was no good and they've got players that the skill level is never going to be good enough, that's an issue. And it should be, people should be aware that there are two sides to this equation. Yes, there is the development side, but there is also the evaluation side, that these guys may have never, ever, and I would say it's likely, considering that you've never seen a prospect go from the White Sox farm system to another farm system and immediately turn into the best player in baseball, besides Fernando Tatis Jr., which that was aided by something, number one, and number two, he was hitting like 180 or something when he was with the White Sox. So, I mean, that is what it is, and he was super young. And if you want to take that one, fine. I'll wear that one. But otherwise, these guys go to these other systems, and it's not like they immediately turn into all-stars in the major leagues, It's not what happens. There's evaluation, and then there's development.
Right. You can't take a pile of mud and think that it's the clay that you're going to mold something into. At the end of the day, it's still mud.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of David Eckstein, I just figured I'd bring up his stats right here. He does have a 20.9 career WAR over 10 years. So that's 2.09 WAR a year, and he has an 87 OPS plus. And he said he couldn't hit, he couldn't throw, but what he could do was beat you. I think he was saying that Branch Rickey had said that, and he said he stole it from him or something. I don't know. Absurd.
Oh, so we're gonna steal quotes from Branch Rickey,
Yeah.
a baseball legend, and you think that's gonna project onto yourself? Ooh, bold move.
Yeah. So did you watch the Chris Getz press conference?
I saw some of it. I saw about as much of it as I could take because I was not inspired and decided I'm done listening to this. Sorry, man. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You can call me a bad fan, but I am at about wit's end with all the all the filth that spews from the talking heads in this organization lately. I feel like it's an insult to my intelligence to even entertain some of these things that they throw out there. I am really insulted by the way they talk to their fan base via the media. It's I think it's a sad and ugly thought that they think that they can put this stuff over on us and think that we're just going to buy in and go, okay, I'm in. Oh, that sounds great. He owes it to the fans. That's fantastic.
He's really
And
looking out for me, the common
Jerry's
man.
gonna Jerry's gonna listen to his GM.
Yeah.
He's he's there for me.
Sure thing, pal.
I just feel I'm obviously jaded. If you haven't figured that out at this point, but I just feel like it's a punch in the gut every time somebody speaks here lately. They must think we're stupid, that we're just gonna
Correct.
buy this crap.
Yeah, 100%. The best part is this guy who's been waiting to be the GM, and ultimately probably since his executive job started, his dream was to become the GM. Or I mean, I doubt he said exec. I mean, who says I want to be the executive vice president? Nobody says that. He wanted to be the GM of whatever team, you know. And he finally gets this job, and here he is sitting here looking at an iPad and reading the iPad like what looks like word for word while he's making his speech. It's like I don't. How
Yeah,
how is that?
extremely
How is that a
uninspiring.
thing? Like nothing from the heart. It's like
And
he's
none of
sitting
it
here.
was genuine.
Yeah, it's so bad. Let's see. Matthew Lucas says scouting and development both have wins and losses. The development wins are projects. It's harder when players are routinely bad, but overcoming adversity isn't stable with the White Sox. No, 100%. I mean,
Well, that's the thing. If that's all you're ever trying to do is overcome adversity instead of mold a superstar's last little, the last little pieces to bring him into the fold of Major League Baseball. There's a big difference.
yeah.
There's
I
a
mean,
big
you
difference. This is
look,
like
Luis Robert.
we cannot be the team that constantly is looking for the diamond in the rough and hopefully turns into that actual diamond. But anywho, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Go
I
on.
mean, if you look at somebody like Luis Robert, I look at him like this. It was one of those things where everybody saw him. A bunch of teams wanted him and wanted to sign him, but the White Sox got him. I
And it
don't.
cost them dearly.
Yeah, no, it did cost them a lot of money, but here's the thing: is that I don't really feel like they did a whole lot to, quote unquote, develop him.
Yeah, bring them along.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that it's just like, you know, there's not really a whole lot different in his game from when he was a little bit younger. The outfield plays a little bit better, so I will give them that. That his outfield play has come away because his routes were bad when he was in the minors. He's gotten better with it. Um, the but like when I look at the bat, I don't really feel like there's so much improvement there that I have to sit there and go, "Wow, great job, guys." So
Yeah. Yeah, he's a physically gifted human being. He
yeah,
was born yeah, he was born into a body that was built for baseball.
yeah.
And he has the physical ability to go out and do some pretty incredible things. But man, can he fall asleep at the wheel sometimes? And that's the part that I feel like development missed him.
Yeah, no, for
Just
sure.
it is what it is.
Yeah, and I will say, missing the cutoff man and stuff. That stuff's happened less this year than it did last. So there are some things that are
It still
improving.
happens though.
It does, but
This was supposed to be the season of renewed culture, of renewed fundamentals. We were bringing in a guy who wore so many different hats before being the bench coach of the Kansas City Royals and coming over to be the manager of the Chicago White Sox, who was supposed to instill fundamentals into this team. And I feel like, okay, yeah, sure, maybe he's had a little bit of a regression on those bad decisions. But overall, as a team, I feel like we've taken a step backwards in fundamentals.
well, now that we're getting to this, and this is going to be just so everybody here knows that this is going to be a shorter episode because it's Labor Day and we're fed up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna complain about this stuff and then get off of here because there's certainly not a whole lot to talk about with the actual play of the White Sox. But
Oh, you don't want to talk about that 12-1 loss at all today?
not so much. I mean, well, the thing is, had it been a perfect game, I would have liked to have talked about it. But because it wasn't a perfect game, I
Yeah.
don't really
Thanks,
want to talk
Yohan.
about it. Yeah, thanks. Way to go, pal. Um,
The one day he
so
finally decides to get a hit.
we're sitting here. We've okay, fine. We've got a new GM, and we were sitting at, I believe, 25 to, I think we were 25 games under 500 at that point. And Chris Getz was asked if Pedro was coming back, and he said yes. Here's my issue with that. You are going to say yes, that Pedro is going to be back next year because there was a couple of bad apples in the clubhouse. Who allowed that clubhouse to get there? Who allowed the fundamentals to be like that and didn't discipline enough that it became ingrained in these guys' memories that this wasn't going to fly? Who has been at the helm ever since the trade deadline, where the team has not improved at all, has actually gotten markedly worse, despite the fact that none of the guys that they traded were really doing anything that was really helping all that much more than what has been in place since they were gone. It's been Pedro Grifol. And you're
Right.
telling me that you finally get the job of your dreams, your GM job, and then you want to tie your career in your first year. You don't want to say, well, we'll see how things are at the end of the year and we will reevaluate. No. He just says Pedro will be back next year.
It's like that
Unacceptable.
scene in Draft Day. You know, and I know Draft Day is a football movie, but that scene in Draft Day where Kevin Costner calls you know, the GM of the Jaguars and tells him, if somebody comes out at the end of this thing looking like an ass, well, first year GM Chris Getz is going to come out of the thing looking like an ass at the end of it, saying things like that and doing just guaranteeing this guy a job because, well, there might have been some bad apples there, and that might have been what caused the bad culture. But are we to believe that every single one of all the bad culture guys were the expiring contract guys? We talked about this.
Shocking.
There's
Shocking
no way.
development. Yeah.
There's no way.
Ah,
It can't. I mean, that would be one hell of a coincidence, would it not?
pretty odd.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. So Matthew Lucas says, I hear wins and losses don't matter in the system, but think winning helps develop players also. The system loses a lot fighting for 500. Like here's the thing. I do also hear the same thing that winning doesn't matter necessarily across the system. But here's the thing is that when you do that, you're developing a lot of me first guys. And that's where this whole culture thing comes in, is that when you build this system where wins and losses don't matter, only individual achievement matters, what do you think's going to happen when those people get to the major leagues?
Right. Right. This has already been ingrained in them that, it's all about me and padding my stats. Well, and now I've made it to the big leagues. What is my next goal? Oh, my next goal is to try to win with a group of guys, and I haven't tried to do. I haven't done that. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, very frustrating. Um, yeah, and the thing is that I know that through talking with these guys down in the system that their teammates do matter to them, and that they're out there fighting for their teammates, and they want to succeed for their teammates, also for themselves, of course, and they want to succeed for themselves, of course, but it's when I've said this a couple of times. You look at the Orioles system where you've got teams that are winning. Obviously they have a great farm system. Top to bottom, they've got like I don't know what it is, like 9, 10 guys in the top 100. So of course they're going to have a ton of talent. But you look at the Rays system, you have a few guys that are in the tops and tops in the top 100, but you don't have overall top 100 guys littered throughout the system. You have a few guys here and there, but they play fundamentally sound baseball. In Kurt Bloom, the Barons were playing the Biscuits this week, and he was talking with the manager, and he said everybody on this team's going to bunt, everybody on this team's going to run, and you're going to do the little things that matter. And then you watch the major league team. What do you see? It's exactly like with the White Sox minor leagues, where yes, they're trying to teach these guys to do things to help their progression as a team. But overall, it doesn't necessarily feel like it has been that way for a while. And I will say that I feel like in the last couple of years things have worked a little bit better, and I feel like there is some team cohesion and that there are some better fundamentals, and there's a plan in place as an organization, at least in the minors. Now, what you see at the major league level, I don't feel is necessarily what we're seeing down in the minors so much. But I don't know. We'll see where things go, and I don't expect things to get any better this year. I think I will actually be shocked if they don't lose 100 games this year. I will be shocked. Like I'm willing to bet money on the fact that they're going to lose 100 games this year.
Yeah, don't anybody go back and listen to our bold prediction show from the beginning of the season because I don't
Yeah,
think we
don't do
hit
that.
any of them. Not a single one.
Yikes.
Ugh.
Now, see, if you listen to my last year's bold predictions where I said Luis Robert was going to do all sorts of awesome stuff,
Yeah, he was a
then I'd be
softball
right.
player. I mean, there's one positive there. I mean, he's one of what, like 6 guys in the history of the White Sox to do a 35-15 season so far. You
Something
know,
like that, yeah.
maybe he reaches 40-20 before the season ends. That'd be pretty fantastic. I'm here for it. We have to have that glimmer of hope and something to keep us invested in this ball club because I'll be completely honest with you. We've been going off a little bit this whole show. If you haven't been paying attention,
Yeah, a little bit.
uh,
My door just opened. I will be right back. Somebody's
oh,
asking me
okay,
something. Be right back.
okay. But my thought is with this whole Chris Getz thing and Pedro coming back, uh, if I don't see some sort of positive development and some sort of value, I guess, in the minor leagues coming up here the next couple of years, I'm really finding it difficult to consider myself a Sox fan these days. I mean, of course I am. I'm here talking about them on a weekly basis with Ian, but eh, eh, man, I'm genuinely questioning my fandom. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you would have seen this post a few days ago. Serious talk, man. I'm sad. I'm flustered and frustrated and you know, I hey, I'm at a loss for words. I really do question whether or not I even want to be a part of this fan base anymore sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I let these frustrations out on the show. But and I sound like I'm angry and pissed off sometimes, but it's more than that. I'm emotionally let down. I'm disappointed because I have invested pretty much, since my interest in love and baseball has come around, I've invested that into the White Sox. And they just they show us no love back. 2005 was fantastic. And it'll be something that lives with me in my memories forever. But it's too far and too few between. So, I, you know, I don't know, man. I just question whether or not I even want to watch this team anymore sometimes.
It's been one of those years that'll make you question what's going on, And like thing is that I love the minor league baseball, Like the guys in the system are great and like I enjoy doing that part of it, but it's really easy to let go of the major league team and just not pay attention.
Well, and you
It's
kind of missed
awful.
that part. I did say that if I don't see something, kind of some positive developments down at the lower levels, because that's what I'll be paying attention to now. I'll be paying attention. I'm really pulling for Mike Shirley in his drafts to become something. We've seen some what looks like positive development at the lower levels of the minor leagues, up to this point since he's taken over. Uh, you know, we talked about wins and losses and how they don't matter or how they do matter. You can look, I mean, even the minor league records are pretty bad, right? None of them are great. But we do see some of those young kids doing some things that we hope will kind of, like you say, matriculate up through level to level. until these guys make their way to a major league ball club somewhere, whether it's with the White Sox or somewhere else. Because I can at least still hang my hat on the fact that if it's not with the White Sox, if they become trade bait and they go somewhere else and they do something, I can at least say, okay, Mike Shirley drafted that guy,
Yeah.
and I
No.
can feel
Yeah.
confident in his skills. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'll be paying attention to. But if I don't feel like there's been any positive direction in the minor league system over the next couple seasons, I might hang it. I said I might find myself watching 4-year-old kids with physical disabilities play ping pong on television rather than
Hmm.
watch the White Sox. And I'm not trying to be
That's something.
insensitive.
At least watch
I'm not trying.
ESPN the Ocho.
Yeah, I can watch 13-year-olds throw bags on the Ocho.
There you go. Hey, John Rudels, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah,
Rules.
I'm curious to see what happens with the front office and interested to see what happens. And I know that Chris Getz has said that Pedro Grifol will be back next year. My question is, if this team completely goes into the tank and just complete, I mean, and I'm, obviously, hold on one second. I had it. They're 30 games below 500 at this point. If they're not, they're 29. It's really close. If it's not 30, they're gonna lose 100 games, and it's entirely possible that they lose 105. With how badly they've been playing, with how terrible this team has been playing down the stretch. I don't understand how you could say that your manager is definitely coming back next year. And this, people have said to me, well, him and Getz know each other really well. I don't care. If I've known somebody for 25 years, if I've gotten the biggest job of my life, and I bring it, and a guy that I stepped up for when he was originally getting the job, if he's not getting the job done and my legacy depends on it, it's going to be tough. But guess what? I'll see you later. You're not being responsible. I have to be responsible and do what I need to do to further myself here. I'll give you a job in the minor leagues if you want it, but you're out of here, man. Sorry. You did not show the, bare minimum requisites to keep this job. You got to go. And when I look and see the White Sox getting a perfect game thrown against them by
the Royals.
Cole Reagans?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Now I know what the guys on the other side of the Philip Humber no-hitter feel like.
It's like, have some self-respect here. Like, give me a break, man. Like, when and I'm just saying.
No.
Some self-respect here. At least go out there and, you want to show that you're good? At least go out and do that. And they're not. It's like they're just like, I just want this season to be over. I don't want to see any of you ever again, is what I see when I look at what's going on out there right now.
And that's funny that you say that, because it all just goes to, going back to those press conferences and interviews and all these things, and Jerry Reinsdorf saying he has no interest in a full-on rebuild, and Chris Getz kind of echoing that. I don't know. You say things like, "Oh, this is the most disappointing season of my career as an owner."
Yeah, possibly.
Why
I would assume.
burn it down? Burn it down. If you owe the fans anything, you owe us an honest attempt. That's what you owe us, an honest attempt, because we've not had one. We bought into the Rick Hahn rebuild of, you could say it started middle of 16 maybe, but really, 17 was kind of the the year where it all really started to come together as a full rebuild. Uh, you know, we have become the team that, over the last 15 years or so has been the team of the retool. We've gone through retool after retool, and then we finally get a full rebuild. And that seemed to, kind of lose its luster when you find out maybe Rick Hahn doesn't have the keys to the rebuild.
Yeah,
We've
that
never
was the
had a
problem.
fully
Yeah.
we've never had a fully honest attempt. So if you owe us anything, give us a fully honest attempt at building a winning culture and a baseball club that actually is in the 20th freaking century,
Yeah.
the 21st century.
I mean, it's like that's the thing is that you could deal with like possibly with some of the issues that are happening down on the farm with the infrastructure and everything. If the White Sox took the final steps to sign a couple of big star names to
Yeah,
be
those
on this team,
finishing pieces that
yeah,
actually are something,
that would have made a
someone, and have
difference.
shown they've been someone already. Sure, absolutely.
So one thing that and I mean, this is a tinfoil hat theory here, and
Okay,
probably
I'm
pretty
here for
silly.
it.
It's
Ah,
probably complete nonsense.
hey, there isn't a thought that you can share here that I won't at least, entertain.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the absolute nonsense that comes with this franchise, I could almost buy it. And hear me out.
All right.
So it comes time for Jerry's given the okay for the rebuild. He said, "I don't want to do it, but I'm in." They get
Eh,
this core that's in place, and it comes time where you have Manny Machado and Bryce Harper are available, and here's where the weirdness starts for me, especially knowing what I know about the dysfunction and toxicity in between KW and Han. KW is the executive vice president, and everything has to be run through him. Han wants to sign Machado. I do not buy that Han came up with that absolutely ridiculous contract
yeah, I don't
with
buy it
all
either.
these clauses and all this stuff. To me, this seems like something that KW would come up with because he wants credit for not only getting Machado but for getting him in Jerry's way.
Yeah, no, you know what? You say it sounds like a tinfoil hat theory, but I honestly don't think that it is. Because if you go back and look at the history of creative contracts of this ball club before Rick Hahn took the keys, there's been many that are like that, where they get creative to get a deal done. And it sounds great on paper until,
Until
along comes a guy with an agent who says, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense for my guy.
why would I do that?
Yeah, you know what? You say it sounds like a tinfoil hat theory, but I really don't think it is. There's history that shows that that is something the White Sox are adept at throwing out there.
I mean, like I brought it up the other day when talking to somebody, and I was like, "Yeah, this kind of sounds stupid. Like I get it that it sounds like I'm trying to, you know, protect Rick Hahn, or and like one of the things that's been said about the mainstream media is that they're trying to portray this whole thing of that Rick Hahn was great and that KW was the real problem here. I don't know that that's not necessarily true, but it's also completely possible that both of them sucked.
Yeah. Again, we went back to the point of where the firing happened, and I was a pretty staunch defender of Rick Hahn for that exact reason. But at the same time, I was not upset when he was let go.
No, yeah, that was pretty much my thought as well. Is that if we can clear out all of the dysfunction and replace it with one person, it's just that my choice would not have been Chris Getz for that.
No, it's the White Sox way. You reward failure with a promotion.
Now, see, here's another thing, and I think this will probably be the last thing that I really, really want to talk about here until we get some like either something new information or until we start to see some results from this whole thing. Is the issue that we have here, and JR brought it up as well in his press conference that that Chris Getz didn't make the decision on who the players were that he got. And I mentioned when Beef was on that I know for sure that there were a couple of things that were blocked by KW in the realm of in the development area of the White Sox minor league system. And if that's the case, he doesn't get to pick who he gets. He doesn't get to make the hires that he wants to make. And, ultimately, he doesn't get to make the decisions on who the managers are. Probably because this is the White Sox and KW was involved. And I know that guy doesn't let anything happen that he doesn't, that's not his idea. So if that's the case, I mean, it's entirely possible that Chris Getz could be a up and coming good general manager. But from what I've seen so far with the Pedro thing, I'm not inspired. And that's the unfortunate thing about this is that with the way that this season has unfolded and the way that this rebuild has gone, is that I think I feel, and I would assume that most White Sox fans feel, that after something like this, we need to be inspired. We need to have something to grab onto and say, this is where we're going. We've had all of these problems, but now we've done this, so now we can move here. And I don't feel like the White Sox are at that. The White Sox fans are at that point now, because I feel like as soon as this hire was made, everybody felt like their legs were cut out from under them, and it was just like all the wind that was in the sails of the White Sox fandom boat that was blowing across the ocean. All the wind in the sails is just gone.
Yeah, dead in the water. Absolutely. Matter of fact, forget dead in the water. It feels like we're sinking into the abyss.
Whoa, we're taking on water. I mean, I hope not, but I mean, like I said, we'll see as the results come in or until we get additional information. And, unfortunately, we're at the very beginning of this. I mean, think of where we were on the Hahn and KW tenure, and to go from that and the complete and total elation of not having to deal with that anymore, and then immediately move over to this. And this is where we're starting. This is just the beginning. I mean, on our side, I will say at least we know there's going to be content to talk about. It's not like there won't be.
Well,
But for
I
crying out
mean,
loud, man.
the last few weeks there's been a lot of content for anybody who's a blogger or podcaster, for anyone who's in the media. There's been plenty of content, but the problem is none of it's positive. And that one ray of positivity that we had when we did get that firing was it lasted for a blink of an eye. Uh, you say that all we want is to see a direction. Well, they gave us a direction. It's just not the one we wanted to see.
It is not the one we want to see.
But I owe that to you. I am Jerry.
I owe that.
I am your friend.
I owe you, the common man, this little. And so here we
Jerry.
are.
I am your friend. I owe it to you to not waste your time. Well, you know what? You might be right about that. You are not wasting my time because I'm going to waste a lot less time watching this ball club until they prove otherwise. So, I really, I really hope that we're wrong about all of this, but we can only prognosticate on what we've been given, and this is what we've been given. What's going on behind the scenes might be something completely different. Unfortunately, history tells us it is not. History tells us that we're probably pretty close to being right on. Oh, in theory, Siri thinks I'm talking to her all of a sudden. Nope, go away.
Siri, I am not talking to you.
No. But yeah, history tells us that when we get something like this, and I'm not trying to say we're any kind of soothsayers because pretty much the rest of the fan base has had about the same feelings that we've been talking about all day here today. When it feels like we're going into a dark place, you got to trust your gut when it's part of the White Sox organization because that's exactly what ends up happening. And then when you feel like you're going and you're coming out of that dark place, don't buy into that too much because we're going to do everything that we can to knock that feeling down. Oh, Sox fans are getting happy about something. Oh, man, got to fix that.
Can't have that.
No. Chop the other leg off.
Yep. So, a second here. Oh no.
Son of a bitch. I said I wasn't going to rip Peters this whole show tonight, and here we are.
Yeah,
I think this is like,
here we go. So
like my fourth one in just over an hour.
I'm just gonna go ahead and bring up some minor league stuff here. The Winston-Salem Dash, I believe they are playing the Tourists coming up this week. Let me take a look here. Let me take a look.
When's their season end? It's got to be like
they have
right around the corner,
so they're playing the Hickory Crawdads, which are, if I remember correctly, I think Hickory is the. Who are they? They're not the Astros. Who are they? They are I believe, the Pirates. Let me look here. Hickory Crawdads. Come on, bro.
Come on, man.
I forget who they. I thought they were the. They are Rangers. That's what they are. The Hickory Crawdads are the Rangers. They don't have cameras, so there will be for the final week of the Winston-Salem Dash season, which is this week, there will be no highlights. So hooray on that one. So that's, for me, it makes life a little bit easier for me because there's only 3 games for me to do highlights for. But on the sad side, the last thing that I have to look at for the Winston-Salem Dash was them getting their brains beat in, and Cole Seamus getting injured, and looking like it's going to be possibly a bit of time.
TJ.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I'm not.
The way he ran off that mound and his arm kind of.
I'm no doctor.
So I'm not either.
I'm not. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once, but to me it didn't look good. So we'll see what happens. But
No, he fired that pitch about, I don't know, 12 feet above the strike zone,
oh
and then
no,
walked
no,
off to the
yeah, it
mound.
was like 25 feet in the air. It was
Yeah,
it hit the backstop like it went up at like a 45, 50, 60 degree angle. Um,
yeah. And the way he stomped off the mound after that,
Not good.
it was not pretty.
Yeah. So that's going to be the last view of Winston-Salem for the year. It's a bummer. Um, so Kannapolis plays the Lynchburg Hillcats this week. Charlotte plays the Rays, Durham Bulls this week, and Birmingham plays
Ooh.
the Biloxi Shuckers. So this is the last week of Winston-Salem and Kannapolis. There is one additional week after that of Double A, which ends on the 19th. And then we've got one additional week of Charlotte. And then it's Arizona Fall League. And we don't have a definite listing of who's going to be there this year for the White Sox. But I have heard that Jacob Burke, Colson Montgomery, and Yosimar Cousin are going to be White Sox representatives in the AZL. But I have also, I mean, from just thinking about things, I would 100% not be surprised if Johan Dominguez from the Knights pitched there, just coming back from TJ. He's generally throwing about like 3 innings per start for the Knights, and he's looked pretty stinking good, and I would imagine that they probably want to get him some more innings, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him there as well. I have heard that there are numerous White Sox players going to the AZL. So,
Yeah, was it a Triple A?
AFL?
Jeff said it was going to be about
AFL.
Arizona Fall League. Triple A Jeff, I think, reported first on the 2 pitchers that had been named already. And then in that same tweet, I think he said something about a half dozen or so White Sox expected to play for the AZL or AFL.
Yeah, I know that it's going to be numerous people. The people that I saw that he said was Jacob Burke, center fielder for the Dash, which,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It was one pitcher and Jacob Burks. It
yeah,
was that
something interesting, though, is that Burke was scratched from the lineup yesterday. So I don't know if he got bumped up to Double A. It's entirely possible that he got bumped to Double A and that he will be in Double A starting tomorrow. I also wouldn't be surprised if they waited a week or whatever and then did it when Winston-Salem's time ends. I don't know, and I haven't heard anything yet. It's actually something that I should look at. And, I'm going to look at it right now while we are here because that's the kind of thing that we do here since we are streaming, and I can do that kind of thing. I'm going to look at the roster and look at the transactions here real quick and see if anything interesting happened. No. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there are no transactions. Usually, those transactions end up coming up on Monday anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that, on Tuesday, the morning before all the stuff happens. So, I mean, it could be that we see a flurry of transactions either tomorrow or the following Tuesday after Kannapolis and Winston-Salem have ended. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a Project Birmingham Part 2, at least to a smaller scale. I don't think that we're going to have what we had last year with the crazy, the ridiculous amount of moving between the developmental squad and the regular squad. I don't think we're going to have that this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get an influx of like 5 or 6 guys from some of the other teams that come up to reinforce Birmingham. But we'll see. I don't have any sources
Still
on
holding out
this.
for Project Bridgeport.
Yes. Well, I mean that's basically
Give me the last. Well, kinda.
I gotta say,
sorta.
speaking of Project Bridgeport, I'm pretty pissed that Jose Rodriguez came up again and didn't at least get an at bat. Come on, man. You pinch hit Yasmani Grandal late in the game. You telling
That's what I'm
me
saying.
that you couldn't pinch hit Popeye in that spot and then insert Yasmani Grandal if the catcher thing actually came up, which it did. It may have had Popeye been up to bat. You never know. His first game in Charlotte goes 3 for 5. He's batting 400 right now. So, anywho. So,
Yeah. All right.
next week, I know that you're out of town for 2 weeks.
Yes, I will be in sunny Cancun, Mexico,
Cancun.
with the wife for the annual anniversary trip. So, I will make sure to turn my phone off and all my notifications off, and have zero uh recognition or recollection of White Sox highlights or lowlights or whatever. So, I will be relying on our Slack conversation between you and the
Yeah, I
boys
was gonna say I'm still gonna
to
text
keep
you.
me posted. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I know I'm no Herb Lawrence, and you pull over for me
Hey,
to read
easy
my
now,
texts,
easy now.
but yeah, we will still have our conversations in the background, but you know, I don't want anything from God. I feel bad for the intern that runs the White Sox social media.
Oh, he's getting killed. She, he, she, they,
She,
them,
whoever it is,
getting killed.
I'm sure it's a thankless job,
Oh,
probably unpaid.
oh, it's 100% thankless. Well, actually, at this point, this person that is the intern that is running the social media, at this point, I don't think it's thankless. I think it's just that they say, we're sorry about that. Sorry you have to deal with that because we really put you in a tough position, at least from some people. So I don't know. Next week, I will probably take off. Maybe the next week, I don't know. Maybe I can get somebody to come on here and hop on with me. I'm sure I'll find somebody. Also, because Kannapolis and Winston-Salem will be ending, it's entirely possible that I have some sort of a low and high A recap show and maybe bring up some of that stuff for one of those things and have I don't know, somebody on with me. And that would be kind of fun. There's been
It'd
some
be
stuff
really
going
cool
on
if we
down
could
there.
get a former batting champion.
Well, we'll see. I don't like I said, I don't know if he wants to do that, and at this point, I don't blame him.
Yeah, no.
But thanks for everybody for watching tonight. Thanks for coming in and hopping in the comments and talking to us. This will be available on our YouTube, and it will also be available anywhere you get your podcasts. At Daily White Sox on Twitter, you'll see some minor league highlights, and you can also search us up on, obviously, on if you're watching on YouTube, you know where to find us. But you can search for us, White Sox Daily on YouTube or Facebook. You can find us there. My name is Ian Eskridge at iEskridge on Twitter. For my co-host, the Danny Miller, at Danny Miller WSD on Twitter. WhiteSoxDaily.substack.com. You can find written information and this podcast. And we thank you so much for coming and hang out. And we will see you guys in the near future here. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks. Night.